Yes, very good afternoon to everyone. So today let us have some more new concepts to be discussed in Java. So last class I discussed about the usage of the other constructs we have. We have finished the selection constructs under which we have discussed both if and switch case. Then we have discussed about the looping constructs where we have discussed while, do while, and for already. And then the new thing which is introduced in Java is about having what is that? Labeled break and label continue, which we can use in our programs, so that if you want to quit from a particular loop, also then we can use this labeled looping constructs. Next, then we today we will start with our discussion is about having to demonstrate the scope of the variables. This I have already discussed in the earlier classes when I spoke about the for loop, where we can discuss where we can actually declare a variable inside the for loop. Then I said that it can be used only in the program or only in the block or the loop in which it can be which it is declared. So let us have some more elaborated discussion on that, the scope of the variables, how actually the scope of our variables deal with. So as Java is very strict language, means it doesn't allow any variable to access out of its scope. So here if we particularly talk about the variables, now here we can demonstrate this with this example, that now for example here see int x is equals to 10 is declared. Now after the main has been start, so we have the main which is open. Now we declared int is x is equals to 10. Now this x can be actually accessed throughout the program. Okay. Means is my voice audible and screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. Okay then. See here. So the x can be known to everyone within the main there. Now if x is equals to 10, so because x is equals to 10, it is going to come into this block. Now this is a new block. Now it is a new scope. Now I have declared int I is equals to 20 here. Now this I is equals to 20 can be accessed only within this block. So outside this block again it is unknown. Okay, so here if I try to display both x and y, because x can be accessible throughout the main, so the x value can be displayed as well as the y value, because it is declared within the this particular block, y can also be declared. So here x is equals to 10, and now when it comes here it will display x is equals to 10 and y is equals to 20. Now I said x is equals to y into 2, y is 20, 22 is 40. Now x is initialized to 40. Now because now this has made an of course an comment here, so I will remove the comment and I will show you when I execute what happens. It will certainly show you an error, because I can be accessed only within that block when I is a y can be accessed only within that block, and when y is tried to be when I is tried here to access, then it is going to throw an error. Then x is still, as I told you, x can be still accessed. Now this stuff already we have done. I is equals to 1, I is less than 10, I plus plus. Now I is declared within for. Now I can be accessed only within for. And now again, if I remove this comment and if I show you that the scope of I is only limited to for, and because of that, if you try to print that value I, then it is going to throw an error. Now let us see the all possibilities within our program now. So Java C scope.java. Then we have Java scope. Here it is. So x is displayed as x and y 10 and 20. Now x has made 40. Then 1 to 10 they are displayed. Now this is actually a fair program. No nothing. Now if I remove this comment, see here. So I'm trying to access y just to show you what will happen. So I'm trying to access y which is not within the scope. Now if I try to compile first, see, cannot find the symbol. Now it says that it is not finding the symbol at all. So they doesn't know who is y. So the compiler doesn't know who is y. The reason there is y can be accessed only within this particular block. Y can be accessed only within this particular block. That's why it is showing an error there. And likewise, now if I try to access I here, I is actually declared in far. Okay. It's declared in far. Now again, if I try to compile it, now saying cannot find the symbol, scope of I is limited to for loop. Scope of I is only limited to for loop. So that's the reason. So wherever is required, we can declare the variables, and at the same time, we can define the scope of the variables. Means in which part of the program or which block of the program or which loop a particular variable can be accessed. Okay, so that is about the scope of the variables. Any doubt in this? Any doubts?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. Good. Now, next is about the character demo. Okay, before going to character demo, okay, let me go to array. Arrays concept. Now we will try to finish off the arrays concept now in case of Java. So it is possible for us to declare an arrays in Java like we have declared arrays in C. So array is a collection of elements of same type and which are referred by a common name. So arrays in Java work differently from the counterparts in C or C++. Now so the array concept somewhat is different here in case of in case of Java. So they work differently from C and C++ there. So a Java array can be dynamic. Creation involves two steps. First, declaring an array and allocating memory using new operator. It's not done at once. It is a two-step process where we are going to first of all declare an array. Then it is going to the memory is allocated using the new operator. Like for example, see here, the syntax for this is data type, the brackets followed by brackets, then the array reference variable. Now here only the reference variable is declared, is given. No memory is allocated. So you can write in either way. Means in the C we used to do it like this: int a of 10. Of some a of 10. We used to do it like this in case of C. But here it is different. Okay, in C it is different here. So for example, int arY of 10. This is in case of C or C++. Okay, now what we have to do in Java is, first of all, we need to can follow these two notations. Either int followed by the brackets and then the array name, or int array name followed by brackets. Now here only the reference for the array is declared. Means the name of the array is declared. The memory means how many elements you are going to store. These all things are not declared at all. So for creating an array, for allocating the memory in the array, so you need to do it like this. So array reference variable is equals to, you need to use the new operator, then data type, then size you need to mention. Means ARY is equals to new int of 5 or new int of 10 if I want 10 variables. Okay. Now int brackets ARY is equals to means these two steps. Actually here it is a two-step process. So int ARY, then ARY equals to new int of 10. This is two-step process. So these two steps can be combined and they can be done like this also. Int brackets ARY is equals to new int of 5 means how many elements are required you need to mention here, then the memory is allocated. Likewise, or the same notation you can write in this way also. Both are same, both are valid, both can be used in whatever notation you want. You can declare the array. It is a two-step process. Once it is declared, now the initialization is ARY of 0 is equals to 10, ARY of 1 is equals to 20, 30, 40, 50 like this. Okay, so like that individual elements can be assigned in case of arrays. Now another very another thing here is when array is created in case of C, so garbage value is actually is stored. In case of array, garbage value is stored. But in case of Java, whenever you create a numeric array, then elements are assigned to 0 by default. When array is created in Java, any numeric array, it can be an integer, it can be a float, it can be a long, it can be a double, it can be a short, it can be a byte, whatever it is. So when an array is created, by default, the value 0 is stored in all the elements. And if it is a character array, then null value is stored. Null value is stored in case of characters. So now array initializes, see here, if I want to initialize them, I can do it like this. Int A is equals to directly, means here you are not using new operator, directly you are giving the elements. Then what happens here is array is created and whatever the value means, whatever is the number of values which you are giving here. So with that size, an array is created and individually those values are stored in the respective indexes. Got my point? So like this also you can do. Now, if you understood this point, now just recall my last class where we passed in the last two classes where we passed arguments at the command prompt. We passed arguments at the command prompt. So when it is arguments are passed at a command prompt, what happens here? We are having strings, string args. So I told you that an args is an array of type string. Now here the memory is not allocated, but once when you are passing the values at the command prompt, when you are passing strings at the command prompt, what happens here is the number of strings which you are passing, with that size an array is created and respective strings will be stored in this. Means that's why we say that Java is a dynamic language. A lot of activity is done at the runtime. Means automatically the array is created and then the values are stored, whatever the values, whatever the strings which are passing at the command prompt. Okay, so now here, say like this also you can assign. When you assign it, the array will be created and respective values will be stored in the array. Now let us go and look at an example now. So we can have this example. Here it is. A program which will show the default values. I just want to show you the confirmation that and the default values which are stored in a string array will be the default values which are stored in the string array will be zeros. So just I said int I, and now int a is equals to new int of 5. Now an array of size 5 is created. I have not initialized any values, but just I am trying to print those values. So when I try to print those values, see what values will be displayed. Sorry. Here it is. So I'm getting zeros there. So by default, the values which are stored in an array will be zeros. Okay. Next, likewise, if I create a character array now, so just see in the character array, the procedure is same. Char b is equals to new of 5. Now here, the null value means actually the characters will be stored as the ASCII values of the characters will be stored in the That's the reason why the ASCII value of null is 0. So I'm saying if b of I is equals to 0, if b of I is equals to 0, means if it is 0, then system.out.println /0/0. Say double slash as we used in C. Another point to note down that in C we used /n/0/t/v the escape sequences. Now you have that option of using the escape sequences even in Java. You can use those escape sequences. So when I use that escape sequence, so /0 means why I am giving this is why I am giving in specific this one is because if I don't give this, if I simply give for I will show you the both the outputs. Okay, so let us first check this, then I will show you. Here it is. Null is stored, and it means this specifically I have just designed. It means I made it to display /0, but actually /0 won't be displayed. Now for suppose I will make it a comment, and then if I say instead of all this, if I say b of I, let's say b of I will just compile it. See here, nothing is displayed because a null is a non-printable character, so nothing is displayed. So that's why I'm checking here if b of I is equals to 0. That's the reason why I have just did this, that if b of I is equals to 0, means if it is equal to null value, then you display, /0. I'm asking the compiler to display /0. Then it is displaying /0 there. Okay, so by default, the null values will be stored in case of character arrays and zeros in case of numeric arrays when you create an array by default. Okay, understood everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Next point here is resizing an array. What you can do here is in Java, an array can be resized. The length of the array can be increased in case of in the runtime. In C, it is not possible. Once you declare an array in the beginning, the same size should be used unless it is a dynamic array. Okay. New array means the new array means if it is a static array cannot change its size in case of C. But here, once the array is created, what you can do is you can change the size of an array. But what happens here is whenever new array is created, the new array will point to a new memory location, and it does not contain the old old data. Means whatever data is there in the memory, it will be lost. Okay, so if you want to increase the size of the array, it will be increased, but the data whatever is being stored is lost in case of Java. Whenever you try to declare, resize an array. Whenever an array is resized, you are going to lose the data. But of course, at the runtime, you can create a new array with the same name. Okay, next, what else we can learn in case of arrays is just wait. Now let us discuss another program where I just want to demonstrate another new concept. Okay, and another new concept I'm going to demonstrate here. So first, let me tell you what actually we are going in the program. So you are going to find the maximum element in an array. We're going to find the maximum element in an array. So just Java max in array. It is asking what is the size of the array. I want to have 5 elements in my array. So 20, 23, 22, 25, 10, 55. So of course, yeah, I might need to comment. Five, 56, 23, 14, 8, 3. Maximum element is 58. Okay. Now what's new we are going to learn now. So concentrate on this. That what we have done. So because we are going to scan the numbers during runtime, again I'm using the scanner class here. So first I'm creating a scanner object. Then I'm asking the user what is the size of the array. Then using next int method, I'm going to first of all read the size of the array. Once the size of the array is read, now I'm creating an array using new operator. Just now we learned that to create an array, we are going to use new int size. See, through examples, we are learning all the concepts. Okay, so once it is the array is created, now what I am doing here is int I for I is equals to 0, I is equals to a dot length. Where this a dot length has come? See, length variable will be a length attribute or length attribute of array returns the number of elements in an array. So this will be by default comes with any array which is created. Length attribute will be associated with any array, whether it is user defined or predefined. The length attribute is associated, and it is going to return the length of the array. So now a dot length. So I'm asking if I is equals to 0, I less than a dot length, then I plus plus. That we are asking enter a number, and a of I is equals to next int, in dot next int. So first a of 0 is there. For in a of 0, the first number is assigned, then for a of 1, then for a of 2, then for a of 3, a of 4, a of 5. So likewise, all the elements will be assigned. Once they are assigned, now see, I'm going to display those elements. So for I is equals to 0, I less than a dot length, I plus plus system dot out dot println a of I. So using /t to get a gap, we can have all the elements which are displayed. So this is now what's new we are going to learn now. The new thing which we are going to learn now is, this is a routine thing which we have learned already. Now you have another kind of loop called for each loop. For each loop, it means it is an enhanced loop. It is called as an enhanced loop. In this, it also allows us to traverse the complete array sequentially without using index variables. So in case of enhanced for loop or for each for loop, we need not we need not use the index variable, index of an element. Without using the index of the element, what we can do here is we can traverse through, or we can go or run through the entire array. So the syntax for that is, for each element type, for each element type, element, what type of element means what type of data is stored in an array. Now for example, you know that in case of arrays, similar data is stored. So for int element, each element type, element x colon, from where it has to take the data. It has to take the data from array. It has to take the data from array. Then you will write the body of this for loop. Body of this for each for loop means first time in x, a of 0 is taken, and for next iteration a of 1 is taken, for next iteration a of 2 is taken, for next iteration a of 3 is taken, then for next iteration a of 4 is taken. If it is, if array A is of size 5, means every time the value is stored in x here, no need of index here. For int x colon a means from array A you take each element into x each time for a new iteration. So first time when it is going into the loop, it is going to take a of 0 into x, then a of 1 into x, then a of 2 into x, and so on. Then you can process that element. So basing on this, see, I have written this program for, this loop for int. Integer is the type, ELE is the element name, then from where it has to take from A, then system.out.println, just I'm going to print it. That's the reason why for 2 times, for each for loop, you are going to get the data. For normal for loop, you are going to get the data. Okay, so once it is done, then we are, the logic for finding the maximum of the elements. You consider the first element as maximum. So here, if I take the values, first element is 56 into max. Then for I is equals to 0, I less than length, I plus plus. If a of I is greater than max, so what is the second element? A of 1 is 23. 23 greater than 56 is false. Then go back. I is equal becomes 2. 14 greater than 56 is false. Then it goes to next loop. Now 58 greater than 56 is true. Then max will be a of I. Then finally, after completion of this loop, we have max with the value of maximum values in the element, and it is going to display. Of course, the same stuff, whatever has done here, the same stuff can be done using for each for loop also like this. So take each element time, element greater than max is false, means if it is true, then the max will be assigned with the element, otherwise it will go to the next iteration. Okay, so then the maximum element will be displayed. Got it? So that is about the for each for loop, which can be used in case of loops. This is a new thing which you have learned. And to tell you one thing, that when I learned Java for the first time, when I was in MCA, so we don't have this for each for loop. Even we don't have the scanner class. So today you are using this scanner class, but we don't have. When I learned Java, we don't have the scanner class. But in the later versions of Java, the scanner class is introduced, and then using the scanner object, you can read the values. But at that time, we don't have that, and also at that time, we don't have this for each for loop. Also, we have to use the traditional for loop. Okay, that's about the for each for loop. So, any doubt regarding this?
No, sir.
Okay, others, are you able to follow? I just want all to respond. Okay, not every time only one or two persons.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good. So shall I continue?
Okay, sir.
Okay, next concept is about passing array to methods. So if I want to pass an array as an argument to a method, how it is passed? If I want an array to be passed as an argument to a method, how it is passed? Now for this, first of all, let me go to another program, then I will come back to that concept. This program is just to check whether given number is prime or not. Already, you know that. Now see this program. Now this program is to print so let me first discuss this simple program, then I will go with other programs. Now maximum of 2 numbers. I just want to have maximum of 2 numbers. So okay. Just pass the 2 numbers from the command prompt, and then I will get the maximum of 2 numbers. That is the program. Now, what is new in this? So, why I am discussing this simple program? Again, to tell you one new thing here. Okay, this already you know, integer.parseInt. You can pass the numbers from the command prompt. It is possible for us. Once you pass the numbers from the command prompt, then those numbers can be taken. Now what I am doing here is I am going to pass those 2 numbers to another method. Until now we are just writing only main method in the class, but there is a scope, there is a possibility that we can have more number of methods in a class. Not just main method, you can have more number of methods within the class. So when it is more number of methods within a class, so remember that now the syntax. So I'm passing those n1 and n2, which I am passing from the which I have given in the command prompt to the max method. So which takes 2 values. So here this all stuff is C stuff. Whatever is here is C stuff. We have written what we used in C language. Int max of int x comma int y, return x greater than y. What is that x greater than y question mark? It is a conditional operator. So we can use conditional operator in Java with the same syntax. So no need, no changes, anything. So we can use the conditional operator in case of Java. So that is the first thing which I would like to tell you here. Okay, so we have seen for loops, while loops, do while loop. We have seen if construct, we have seen switch case construct, and also the conditional operator can also be used in Java. That is thing. Now, what is the new thing which I would like to tell you here? Now, all the methods. So I said that static methods are those methods which can be invoked without any instance. What is an instance? An object here. Without object, without instantiation, a method can be invoked there. So a static method can invoke another static method. A static method can invoke another static method only. To be more specific, to say a static method can invoke another static method directly without object. So that's the reason why whatever the methods which you would like to introduce within a class, they all must be static. They must be public as well as static. So this is compulsory because you are invoking another static method using from a static method. It should also be a static method. If it is non-static, then we have to create an object, then we have to invoke. So how it is done, we will learn later on. That is not the current discussion. So the current point here which I would like to tell you here is a static method can invoke another static method. So that's the reason why I declared the max method as static. Then I'm passing those two values to that max method, and it is going to return value, the greater value, okay, which is assigned to M, and it is going to display. So that is a new thing which you are going to, which you have learned here. Got it? Now, the next thing which I prepared is the next thing which I have prepared is discuss here is okay, max in the array we have discussed. Then we have yes. Yeah. So we'll discuss this concept and we'll conclude today. Now, passing an array as an argument to a method. Passing an array as an argument to a method. So when we pass values to methods, no, they pass by value in general. Just now we have seen this program that we are passing these two values here as pass by value. Pass by value means the values of those variables will be passed. And if I do anything, if I do any changes here to X and Y, those changes will not be reflected back here. Will not be reflected back here. So this is already we have learned in C or C++ also, or C, that we can pass values to means call by value. If you remember call by value concept, where the values in the variables are passed and any changes which are made at the function will have no impact to the original values. The same thing is actually used in case of Java also. But whereas in case of arrays, we will parse by reference, means parse by sharing an array as an argument to a method. Means any changes which are made will have an effect to the array outside the method. Means any changes which we are making in a method will have an impact here. Now before means look at this particular program where I'm going to assign the values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 to an array. Then before passing it to an array, I am just printing those values. I will go step by step. What I will do here is I'm going to make this entire thing as a comment. Now just I have declared an array. What I have done here is I have declared an array. I'm passing those. I'm just displaying those values. Okay, so let us see what will happen. Look at this. Before sending it to a function, the values are same 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now what I am doing here is, now I passed it to an array. And then I will come back. So I am just passing it to a method called print array. Now another point which I would like to, okay, before conclusion I will tell you, okay, print array is a method. So the control will go to this print array method, and because it should be again a static method because we are calling it from a static method. So an array is declared here. In fact, the array is not declared. The reference will be created and it will point to the same memory location. Means call by reference. Here it is call by reference. So in the array again I am displaying it and I am making the changes. I am adding 10 value to each element. Means I am displaying the element at the same time adding 10 to each element. Means 10 will become 20, 20 will become 30, 30 will become 40. So after that again it will come back and see what will be the result. Before sending it to the function 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, in the function 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. After coming back to main, they have changed to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Means call by reference here. You can say call by reference means like call by reference, whatever changes you have made here, those changes have an impact to the original array. Here it is called as A, but here it is referred to the same memory location is referred as ARY. Okay, so that is possible in Java. In case of arrays, we have call by reference, not call by value. But normal programs, we have call by value. Here, it has call by value, means passing it as value. Okay, fine. Just if I want, I will tell you how it is going to work. I'll show you that also. Int z is equals to, for example, z is equals to x greater than y. X plus plus, I'm incrementing the value, y plus plus, return z, returning z. So after coming back, for example, observe the difference very carefully. This I am all doing for your sake only. So to make you understand the concept very clearly. So if I display N1 plus N2, that is concatenation. That's nothing but concatenation. Means before calling the max function, and after calling the max function, let us see the difference. Before passing also 2021, after coming back also 2021. Though you have made it 22 and 23 here, that is call by value. But in case of arrays, it is call by reference, where the values are being updated. The values are being updated. The changes have been made here. Got it? So Java, it takes call by reference. It will pass by passing by reference to an array as an argument to a method. The array in the method has the same as the array being passed, and any changes to the array in the method will have an effect outside the method also. So that's what. So the final thing which I have done here is reversing the elements in an array. Again, it is a simple logic we have written here. See here. We are why we have written here is this is to explain you another concept here. What I am passing? An array. So what is returned? The returned is also an array type. It's not. So public static int brackets. Int brackets refer to it is going to return an array. It is going to return an array from the method. So I have just passed it. Now this time it is called as list. This time it is called as list. Means A is referred as original array is referred as A. Now it is referred as list here. Okay. Now int result is equals to new list int of list dot length. Means whatever is the array which you have passed, with that size the new array is created. Now for I is equals to 0, j is equals to result dot length minus 1. Means if it is a 5 elements, so for example it is a 5 elements, I is equals to 0, j is equals to result dot length minus 1. List dot length is result dot length is 5, 5 minus 1 is 4, I greater than list dot length, I plus plus j minus 1. So what I am doing, result of 4 is equals to list of 0. Next time result of 3 is equals to list of 1. Next time I am doing result of 2 is equals to list of 2. Then I am doing list of 1 is equals to list of 3. Then I am saying result of 4 is equals to list of 0. Then result of 3 is equals to list of 1. Then result of 2 is equals to list of 2. Then result of 1 is equals to list of 3. And result of 0 is equals to list of 4. Means I have made entire the array is reversed here, and it is stored in the result. And now I am returning result. What is the result here? It is an array. That array is passed and it is assigned to this x here. It is assigned to x. So after that the array is reversed. Then if I am trying to print it, all the elements will be reversed and it will be displayed. So let us check it. Here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 in the function. Also back to main, and the array is reversed 60, 50, 40, 20, 30 and 20. Got it? So this is how we are going to create an array. We can pass array as an argument to a function. Okay, we can use this for each loop. That's all the new concepts which you have learned in the today's class. Okay, thank you.